just because you kill somebody doesn't mean you don't love them. And he goes, yeah, you're right, yeah. Just because you kill somebody doesn't mean you don't love them. So I didn't expect that. But
this is Ricardo Lopez. The year is 1996, and he's planning to kill Bjork. Over the course of 9 months, Lopez recorded over 22 hours of footage. He included blueprints, memes, and mundane rants about friends and work. These tapes functioned as a digital continuation of his 800-page diary, but they were also a manifesto.
It sounds crazy. One of the reasons I have you is to document my progression to the events.
Lopez documented his obsession with the Icelandic singer Bjork and his disapproval of her black partner, Goldie.
That's unacceptable.
Enraged at what he called Bjork's unacceptable behavior, Lopez began drafting her punishment.
I'm just gonna have to kill her.
He chose an explosive device, which would be mailed to Bjork's address. The first design included needles filled with HIV-positive blood. Upon opening the package, Bjork would be injected. The final version of the explosive, the one he actually mailed off in September of that year, contained sulfuric acid. Ricardo's plan failed on multiple levels. Bjork never received the package.
With my sister Sam.
Yes.
It's like a skyrocket for your young career, isn't it?
It's gone great so far. I really like working on the show.
7 years before Ricardo Lopez began documenting his plan, there was another fan spiraling down the same violent rabbit hole. Robert Bardot became obsessed with the actress Rebecca Schaeffer in the late 80s. Similar to Lopez, Robert became enraged by Schaeffer's intimate life. Her fictional intimate life, anyway. Rebecca played a supporting role in scenes from the class struggle in Beverly Hills, and her character was actually involved with Raymond Sharkey's character. Watching the two actors simulate sex was enough to shatter the parasocial bond Robert had built with Rebecca. Just like Lopez conspired to do to Bjork, Robert Bardot did with Schaeffer. His plan carried through. He hunted her down and killed her. When it comes to conversations about celebrity obsession and the violence it breeds, everyone's main concern is mental health, which is fair, but not what I want to focus on in this video. Both Ricardo and Robert struggled with issues common in our culture today. They were disillusioned with the highly visible women in their life and simultaneously dependent on the parasocial fantasy these women provided. More than that, though, both men were indoctrinated by the violent system of misogyny. It's true that celebrity obsession rarely ends in murder or an attempt, but there are small pieces to each story that bleed through where you least expect it. Burgeoning portions of fandoms today also hunt women. They don't use physical media like magazines or commissioned private detectives like Lopez and Bardot did. They use digital tools. They exist mostly in the anonymous, shadowy spaces of forums, comment sections, and Dumas exclusives. They don't hunt to kill. They aren't extremists. But when provoked, their delusion, spite, entitlement, and misogynistic drive for punishment mirrors some of the most conservative niches on the internet. Today, we're covering parasocial fandoms, thwarted fairy tales, and woman-hating in the name of morality. They go get me. Let's look closer. It's really easy to fall into echo chambers on the internet. The information you find on a Snark subreddit, for instance, may be incomplete on purpose. And dedicated fan pages might be uncritical of their favorites, leading to biased reporting. Wouldn't it be nice to gather information in one place and study it side by side like I do in my video essays? That's why there's Ground News, the sponsor of this video. Ground News is a website and app that makes it easier to examine the news. They organize thousands of news articles every day and sorts each of them into stories. Each story features a bias distribution chart to show the publication's political bias, an ownership chart which shows who owns a publication, i.e. the government or a conglomerate. And each story has a cohesive layout, which makes it way easier to compare headlines. Here's a story of your favorite parasocial relationship, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. In the past few weeks, 21 outlets have wrote about Travis's mom signing an NDA ahead of their wedding. Right below the summary, we can see the bias chart, which shows more right-leaning publications have reported on this story at 23% than left-leaning ones did at 15%. 62% 92% of the coverage is in the center. The differences in headlines and opening sentences are also interesting. Based on their bias reading, we can see how bias influences framing here. TMZ, who leans right, has a bit of a gruff first sentence. Travis Kelce's mom would do anything for her son, except sign an NDA. She Knows, who leans left, has a more poppy tone, but still gossipy, saying that their upcoming nuptials will be the party of the century. Something cool about Ground News is their blind spot feature, which shows which stories are being reported on disproportionately based on political bias. For instance, this story about a negative performance poll of Donald Trump has a majority left and center coverage and 0 right-leaning publications. Collating is my favorite part of research and essay writing, and since you're watching me, I assume it's one of your favorite parts of my videos. So I like what Ground News has to offer, and I think you would too. I think we could all benefit from examining what's being said and how it's being said so that we can better challenge or engage with it. If you subscribe to Ground News today, you'll get 40% off their Vantage plan. Go to ground.news/Shanespear, click the link in the video description, or scan the QR code on screen to subscribe today. That's ground.news/Shanespear. Thanks to Ground News, and let's get back to the video. Part 1. Bloodsport. The women our culture has loathed the most have unfailingly been the same ones we can't stop watching. Fandom refers to a subculture of people who enjoy the same thing: sports, music, or other people. It can be as large of a collection as millions or as small a collection as few. They appear to move as one, but they are not a monolith. I accidentally fell into a fandom a few months ago. I was completely uninvited. It's like wearing shoes around someone else's house or joining in on a couple's argument when you have no idea why they're upset. My For You page kept showing me clips from Criminal Minds. You know, the FBI procedural drama that's been airing since fucking 1503 for some reason. And I lingered on these clips because I loved the show in high school. I watched as the content morphed from episode scenes to bloopers of the cast, and then curiously into videos starring Matthew Gray Gubler, the actor who played Spencer on the show. Suddenly, I was on his fandom side of the internet. It was as multifaceted as any other fandom. But I noticed a reoccurring type of video. Matthew's initials would accompany the words "finally single," and a woman would be in the background smiling with satisfaction. Sometimes, the news of his breakup would be so exciting that women would be jumping in the air for joy. This is how I knew I ended up somewhere uninvited, girl, because every post was like trying to decipher code. I just kept thinking,
man, what did he do to make them is that mad?
TikTok comments led me to Reddit, and Reddit led me down a fandom rabbit hole. Spread across a handful of different forums, hundreds of people were dissecting Matthew's alleged girlfriend at the time, up-and-coming country singer Willow Avalon. Before this, I didn't know who Willow Avalon was. During and after this, I'm still not a fan. It seems like a lot of other people aren't either, but their reasons are far more complex than mine are. In late March of 2025, Willow and Matthew were spotted by DeuxMoi, the media entity that's part independent journalism, part community-run stalking ring. DeuxMoi posted a dark, scary image of the couple, taken in secret by a third party, and wrote, "Matthew Gray Gubler and Willow Avalon's Carbone date night confirms romance. This confirmation will certainly delight fans who have been eagerly following the rumors." Yeah, delight. Well, you can add taking the piss to their resume because let me break down the responses to these dating rumors, but first I have to explain Reddit to you like you're 5. I looked at 3 different kinds of subreddits for this video: general pages, dedicated pages, and snark pages. General pages are for casual pop culture audiences. The focal point isn't just one celebrity, but many. The participants of this space can be snarky, which means critical with the intent to inflict pain or shame. But they're usually tame, and their opinion doesn't seem tied up in any passionate parasocial connection. Dedicated pages are those that focus on one celebrity, for instance, Doechii or Ariana Grande. This is where self-proclaimed fans congregate, people who may like the celebrity and who are looking to discuss their work or personal life. Sometimes negative opinions, measured criticism, or outright snarky posts appear here, but not without pushback from other fans. People who want to release their inhibitions and feel the pain on their skin go to snark subreddits, or maybe even candor subreddits, though these are not usually as abrasive. The Willow Avalon Snark page that I scrolled through wasn't active until months after the relationship reveal, so most of the early responses come from general pages or dedicated pages. Some fans were normal in their gossip, while others quickly resorted to misogynistic instinct, an element that even the most hardened haters of Willow have admitted. A majority of people were initially concerned about the age gap. That March, Willow was 26 and Matthew had just turned 45. And like some of his Hollywood brethren, it wasn't the first time he had gone for someone almost half his age. Some of his fans were critical of him, even so far as calling him a weird, dirty old man, but they evened it out by affirming their love for him and his 75-year-long running television series. We're gonna come back to holding people accountable in a bit, so stick a pin in this part. It became quickly apparent that Willow Avalon wasn't going to make it through her relationship with a famous celebrity unscathed. It's a tale as old and as simultaneously disputed as time itself. A celebrity, usually a white man, starts dating a woman and fans descend like buzzards to the kill. Not all fans, I know. This doesn't have batteries, so. I'm not trying to paint fandoms, especially those with large portions of women and girls, as hysterical or boy crazy, because they're not. But there is a consistent pattern of parasocial abuse that we just have to be honest about. Girl, please. Even before Matthew and Willow were confirmed to be dating, some of his fans were brutal towards her. One Redditor asked, "Why is no one talking about the fact that Willow comes from a website called Seeking Arrangements, where she would look for rich older men? She was an escort. She sold prescription drugs to a dealer and posed nude. This is the person you hope he's oh so happy with." My favorite part about this comment is that it's pretending to be cool and casual in its concern, but it's actually short-circuiting on its own misogyny. Guys, she was a sex worker, and everyone knows that when you're a woman who engages in sex work or take nude photographs,
You should be banished to the bottom of a well for all eternity where no one can ever love you.
the posed nude thing, I think, references nude photographs of Willow that were being circulated around the time that her relationship with Matthew went public, which is actually a really common tactic used by misogynists. Now, I don't know who first posted them. I don't know if they were posted by a fan or a snarker or a random person who was being weird, but they did post them multiple times and would even tag Matthew and his family members in them on Instagram. All I know is that Snark Redditors claim it wasn't them and adamantly condemn the circulation of revenge nudes in their rules section. But going back to this comment, it positions her as someone unlovable, or at the very least, problematic to love because of her past. This will become a common theme not only with Willow, but with any woman who dares to be highly visible and in love. The rich older man comment is subtle but strategic. Not only does it imply that Willow is taking advantage of Matthew, a quote-unquote rich older man, like she did with the men on Seeking Arrangements, but it also references an age-old misogynistic belief that women use men for money and attention. Sophie Gilbert's book Girl on Girl, no, not the good kind, documents the ways in which pop culture became a powder keg of misogyny in the 2000s. Woman-hating was as casual as breathing. It invaded our music, television, films, and discourse. This culture of misogyny influenced how we saw women, and it also trained us how to treat them. One of the book's chapters, Girl Fight, focuses on reality TV. These shows often feature groups of women being herded like cattle through obscene and dehumanizing competitions.
The behavior that you exhibited was whore-like. The whore jumped out, and then it jumped back in.
Also, they can win the love of one man, or rather, win one man's pockets. The women in these shows are characterized as shallow, vindictive, violent gold diggers who will stop at nothing to be seen. Like a mythical witch, these women maintain their vitality by sucking the earth dry of money and attention. They can't function without it. They need it like air. Both the camera and audience conspire to punish them for it. The most common snarks I see about women in high-profile relationships is that they are attention seekers. When FKA Twigs mentioned that she was being racially targeted on Twitter in late 2014, the same month that her relationship with Robert Pattinson went public, by the way, fans of Robert called her a trashy fame whore who wants Rob's money. This was on top of the tweets calling her a no-good black slave, a housekeeper, a monkey, and an infection. Mind you, it would have taken me till just now, in the middle of this video, 2026, to get off those people. Okay, I would have been putting belt to asses for 12 years straight. That is if I didn't believe in restorative justice, of course. Some people make it real hard though, my God. Anyway, in 2023, after Timothee Chalamet started dating Kylie Jenner, his fans, I'll just let you hear it. For me, it's the fact that he seemingly was an actor for the love of the craft, had integrity for the roles he chose, and was cerebral and cool. So it makes no sense that he'd date someone trashy, shallow, and fame-hungry. On the dedicated MGG subreddit, one user argued that Willow couldn't function without the attention she got from Matthew fans. Another Redditor argued that she's a girl who desperately wants to be noticed and admired. She crams her face in every possible angle with him. We as fans are astonished how MGG can't see through her trying to get attention. On the other hand, good on him getting the younger girls. Wait, what? This post reads, "Imagine being so obsessed with male attention that you post a picture with your bra sticking out." Another user replied, "I always say this and I'm treated like a misogynist, but honestly, anyone who posts a photo like that has to be desperate to get attention." Y'all would hate to see me because this girl bra not even showing this picture. This rhetoric keeps going and going and going. Funnily enough, this is a popular talking point in the Manosphere. The Manosphere is a misogynistic and white supremacist community that recruits men into violence. Among other things, they believe that women and men are in an intimate power play for domination. Women only want money and attention, and men only want sex. Across the fandom spaces I searched, one coping mechanism of scorned fans is to declare that their favorite man celebrity isn't actually in love with his trashy partner. He just wants to use her body. Phew, what a relief. Like what? Both the Manosphere and fandoms ask, how can we be mad about misogynistic objectification when it's really women who hold the power? They are the gatekeepers of sex and desire, and they wield it to gain capital. All these innocent men are just doing what they have to do to get by. A woman's sexual power is simultaneously weak enough to be weaponized against her and potent enough to ruin a grown man's life. One Redditor proclaimed that as a 17-year-old minor, Willow Avalon, quote, duped a 33-year-old man with her wiles, end quote, and effectively ruined that Redditor's relationship with him. Willow is alleged to have lied about her age, but further in the post, the Redditor insists that her 33-year-old partner knew Willow was a child when he slept with her. Quote, "She fucking uses people, especially men, and she discards them with zero regard for the damage she leaves in her wake." Other posts across Reddit imply that Willow is so powerful that she's sucking the life force out of Matthew Gray Gubler and making him look tired and run down. One fan lamented, "But if we say that out loud, people will call us psychos." The Timothee Chalamet subreddit features similar discourse. Girl, people are in there calling Kylie Jenner a succubus. And it's just as strange on the K-pop side of things. After Aespa's Winter was rumored to be dating Jungkook from BTS, some fans began flooding her comments with demands for her to apologize for hurting him and to free him, as if he's an unwilling captive taken during the War of Seduction or something. That man is older than I am. And according to the internet, I'm already unk. While I was researching this video, I kept coming back to one question. Why do some fans engage in this behavior, and how does their parasociality lead to or justify their misogyny? Parasociality breeds dehumanization, which in turn can breed discrimination. You'll never know the intimate details of a celebrity's thoughts, feelings, or relationship, and this produces a gap in their identity. You claim to love and respect this person. They can't be incomplete, so you project onto them. You fill in those gaps. You transform them from a person into a myth. Now you're in a dream world of your own creation. You can make things up as you see fit, which some fans do often and well. Like, what are we even talking about, bro? Shanann Palma puts forward an interesting phenomenon called fairy tale logic. It refers to the mode of magical thinking typified by the belief that certain functions, fulfilled correctly and in the right order, lead to predictable outcomes. Anyone can believe in fairy tale logic. It appears everywhere in our pop culture. Palma specifically uses it in reference to incels. Incels are a subcommunity in the Manosphere defined by their lack of intimate relationships. They believe that becoming alphas will fix their loneliness, since, to them, women are biologically wired to seek out alpha men. This is their fairy tale logic. By following certain gender scripts, like gaining muscle, charm, or wealth, they think that they will reap sexual reward. Fairy tale logic also occurs in general fandom, just in a different way. There are some fans who are extremely parasocial, but I think for the most part, they understand that there's nothing they can do to win the love of their favorite celebrity. Their happy ending is not sex like the incel, and their hero's journey is not going to the gym or winning $1 million. Though, god damn, $1 million does sound good. That would be nice. They probably don't even believe that harassing their beloved's partner will grant them a happy ending. I think some parasocial fans are merely frustrated. Not because they think they have a chance at dating a celebrity, though some certainly do, but because that celebrity and that celebrity's partner disrupts the fantasy. When Robert Pattinson started dating FKA Twigs, his fans weren't mad because they desire him or because they're racist, though those are in contention. Some of them were mad because this new relationship trampled on their fantasy pairing of him and Kristen Stewart. That relationship had just ended a year prior to his relationship with Twigs, and it effectively sealed the casket of the Twilight era. Celebrities and other highly visible beings aren't people so much as they are characters in a movie. Parasocial fans seek solace in comfortable tropes. There's a hero, a villain, and a moral. They'll never admit it, but they expect their actors to follow the script. Celebrities and those around them must behave a certain way, date certain people, or no one at all. But like the plight of the incel, parasocial fans are crushed when they learn that other people have autonomy. Just because you have a script for them laid out in your head doesn't mean they have to follow it. When a highly visible puppet disrupts the fantasy, it breaks the spell. The only way to continue the script is to expose and punish the villain, which is usually a woman. Ricardo Lopez and Robert Bardo followed this logic. Their fairy tale archetypes started out traditional. They were the heroes, and their parasocial objects were the damsels.
Look at this beautiful face. This cute, innocent, sweet and shy thing.
Infantilization is integral to parasociality as part of its aim to dehumanize. Gender and race can play a big role. Before Robert Bardo became violent in his obsession with Rebecca Schaeffer, he described her as a goddess, too sweet, clean, and pure for sexual fantasies. Ricardo Lopez did something similar with Bjork. In his journal, he wrote, "I couldn't have sex with her because I love her." Neither man could comprehend how a good mythical woman could also be or self-determining. They attempted to infantilize both women in order to bring reality in congruence with their mind. And when the women went off script, they decided to punish them for it. I noticed that with Kpop, or let me speak on BTS since that's mainly who I follow. I noticed that with BTS, some fans can be infantilizing to an extreme. Some fans are adamant that none of the 30 to 40-year-old men are dating, have ever dated, or even want to date.
Do you wear wigs? Have you worn wigs? When will you wear wigs?
They don't know what sex is. And any woman who gets close to them is an evil seductress looking to seduce a poor, innocent child. Not all fans, I know. Damn, you're gonna make me keep pulling this out? In response to the winter Jungkook rumors, one user commented, "JK belongs only to his army." Another said, "You always say that army is all you care about, that we're the most important thing to you. You clearly stated before that you didn't have a girlfriend and didn't want to be in a relationship, but now I really don't understand. I feel deceived." The fairy tale these fans built, sometimes even with the help of their beloved, began to burn before their eyes. This is what I think happened with Timothee Chalamet. For the longest time, his pop culture image was that of a young, cool savant burdened with generational talent. He probably drinks oat milk and carries around a tote bag full of Criterion Vault selections. But he burst the parasocial fantasy when he began dating Kylie Jenner. He went off script. Some of his fans resent her because, in part, she doesn't match the sexual politics he exudes. He should be with someone of his caliber, someone mystic and artsy, like Taylor Russell, but I'm not sure if they even liked her when that was So instead, he chose someone who's perceived differently. Disappointed. Yuck. Yuck, yuck. Tim has talent, outstanding parents, and he worked hard to get where he is today. He's multilingual and educated and has now thrown his reputation away to be with Kylie? Shit, shallow name, adept from a shallow dickhead bimbo who had babies with a rapper narcissistic wanker. I feel like vomiting. Part 2. Snark-cels and accountability. The popular understanding of celebrity has rotated through cycles of idolization, jealousy, curiosity, and resentment. Disgust seemed to be the inevitable final phase, an appropriate response to women who had supposedly courted attention throughout their careers, only to turn around now and complain about being victimized. Disgust made it easier to hate them. The so-called bullying is just people trying to make her hold accountability for her disgusting mess of a past. And if she had at least a little moral backbone and a drop of empathy, she would have addressed it right away. Can I tell you a secret? I hate seeing the word accountability used on the internet because most people don't actually know what it means. It's gone the way of woke and feminism. The actual practice and culture surrounding these terms have become a spectacle on the internet, perverted by people who want to use it for their own violence. Like when conservatives redefined woke as a bad thing and trad wives scream choice feminism in people's faces who challenge them about their far-right ideology. Some people say accountable when they really just mean shame. You want to harass someone, isolate them, abuse them, and still keep your high ground and call it justice. As much as some people have perverted the term, I think it can still be used as a valid tool for transformation, challenging harm in interpersonal relationships, targeting companies and politicians who do harm to those they serve, because these people work for us. Mind you, these are all good things. Accountability means being responsible for your actions, and sometimes, especially when it comes to those who have an overabundance of power, they must be made aware of the harm they have caused, or at the very least, be made aware of the consequences they'll face. Misogyny is not a consequence. It's a punishment. It seeks to solve nothing but how to create more pain. I accidentally made my job a little harder by choosing to highlight certain celebrities like Willow Avalon and Kylie Jenner. These women are not perfect victims of harassment. In fact, they have both caused harm, interpersonally and broadly. But I think this makes a good exercise in favoring justice over wrath. Willow seemed eager to work with Zach Bryant after allegations arose of him emotionally abusing his ex-girlfriend. When asked about how she feels on the matter, she stated, "Go outside and touch grass. He's only ever been kind." There's also a photo of her as a teenager wearing the Confederate flag. I've lived in the South, so all my life I have been jump scared constantly with this damn thing. You don't know fear until you are a young black femme driving by yourself right before nightfall, and the GPS takes you the wrong way down a dead-end dirt road, and every house you pass has a Confederate flag in the window. Girl, I was scared. I was scared as fuck that day. Kylie Jenner also has a well-documented history of cultural appropriation and other oddities surrounding race, including that damn fried chicken photo shoot on the private fucking jet. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Oh no.
She allegedly exploits workers overseas to produce her products and has a general billionaireness about her that makes me a little hungry. Both women have done tangible things that uphold, or at the very least, comply with systems of harm, including misogyny, gendered violence, capitalistic abuse, and institutional racism. They should take responsibility for these actions and change them moving forward. My question is, what does that look like on the spectacle of the internet? And how can the internet demand it in a way that's restorative rather than carceral? About 6 years ago, I became curious about abolition. It started with the police, moved to the death penalty, and now encompasses the prison industrial complex as a whole, from immigration detention centers to occupation to interpersonal relationships. I am the biggest killjoy it is when it comes to pop culture because I apply these themes where people don't think they fit. Last May, I published a video essay about misogyny in pop culture titled, Just Say You Hate Women. The goal of that essay was to challenge casual violence against highly visible women, whether they're a celebrity or someone getting their 15 minutes of shame. I argued that pop culture is a kind of prison, and we are both its guards and executioners. I'll try to keep it short for this video, but what the internet demands of people who cause harm is not always accountability. Sometimes it's abuse and harassment. Accountability, first and foremost, is community-based, meaning the person who was harmed is centered and there are no outside jury members, just people in the community who personally know both parties. It rejects the violence of our prison system by avoiding shame tactics, harassment, isolation, and abuse. It understands that penal-based punishment seeks to inflict pain and only creates cycle of harm. Under true accountability, people who cause harm maintain their humanity and dignity, but face consequences for their actions. They may have to be separated from those they have harmed, apologize for the harm they've caused, and enter a long-term restorative process that includes education and behavior transformation. The victim, the person who has been harmed, is centered in the discussion. Sometimes they are even in charge of deciding the consequences. Accountability has to be voluntary, not coerced. This is obviously hard work. It's easier said than done, and it plays out even trickier on the internet. When I talk about people on my channel, for instance, like Matt Rife or Larry's, I rarely focus on them as individuals. I go out of my way to blur the name of non-celebrities because I value tools over targets. By focusing on the broad issue, like Matt Rife's misogynistic behavior, I give people tools to apply it to other situations in life. That way we don't think of it as a Matt Rife problem, but a problem of our culture. I'm not perfect at this. Sometimes I get a little, just take someone's head and just, but anyways. Maybe I won't change Matt Rife's mind, but I'll change thousands of other minds who thought just like him. The bulk of what I found on Reddit and TikTok about highly visible women is not accountability. It's retribution. Not only that, it's a form of punishment that is inconsistent with the harm caused. For instance, Willow Avalon caused harm by working with, praising, and defending Zach Bryant after he was accused of abuse. Snarkers claim to pursue accountability from her by inflicting pain. Snarking, by definition, is pain-inducing. They snark on her body and personality and singing voice and talent. They call her a gold digger and an attention whore. How does that mitigate or transform the harm she caused? And the Confederate flag thing. I personally hesitate around people who rep it. I know some are willing to change their mind through education, but I can admit that I would not initially feel safe around someone repping that flag. I also wouldn't feel safe around people who use that to be misogynistic on anonymous internet forums, because both instances have the potential to harm me. Because the way I see it, you think that being misogynistic is okay so long as someone did something wrong first. What if I do something wrong? Can you be misogynistic towards me? I don't always see measured contentions with wrongdoing in this space. I see screenshots of women's faces and body made to paint them as unattractive, coupled with comments about how ugly they are, or how plastic they are, or how plastic even that they need to be to gain love. I see photos and tweets comparing women to monkeys, and people exclaiming how disgusting these women are. I see comments calling women Oompa Loompa botched body bitches and slutty porn stars. I see entitled demands for explanations or apologies for things that are none of our parasocial business. When you bring this up to participants in these dog pals, they ask you, well, why are you defending a horrible person? Or why can't she just take accountability? You guys would be really good cops. You would be really good agents of the state. Don't take that as a compliment. This behavior is yet another thing that fandoms have in common with the alt-right. I'm not saying that a random Harry Styles fan is comparable to Andrew Tate. Instead, I think fans are like anyone else on the planet. They're not immune to propaganda. Everyone is being influenced by the same power source.
You boys twins?
Nah, we cousins.
In August of 2014, Aaron Joni published the Zoe post. It was an intimate and later debunked recounting of his breakup with independent game developer Zoe Quinn. In it, Joni implied that Zoe cheated on him with a game reviewer named Nathan Grayson, presumably in exchange for a positive review of their game Depression Quest. Zoe had already been the subject of harassment by men in the gaming community who argued their existence in the space was essentially woke feminist DEI nonsense. By publishing this post, Joni unleashed a flood. Gamergate was born. Gamergate was a mass harassment campaign directed at every woman who breathed on the internet, and it used a lot of the same tactics that fandoms use. Laura Bates, author of Men Who Hate Women, argues that Gamergate was sustained and strengthened by the process of documenting and sharing the harassment on anonymous forums, collecting accolades and advice from other trolls, and competing to outdo one another in the extremity and obscenity of the abuse. It's straight from the Misogyny Slop playbook, as coined by the creator Ofidoki. Fans on Reddit revel in anonymity. Some even make throwaway accounts to participate in abuse without linking it back to themselves. Documentation is key to their practice, especially since their comments don't just exist on the forum. They take it directly to their target and their target's friends and family. The new rules for the Willow Avalon Snark subreddit states, mostly everyone in Willow Circle is equally problematic. Feel free to share anything about them. Users post screenshots to prove they've been blocked by their targets for the harassment. They tag the target's friends and family in call-out posts. They leave snarky comments under their target's social media and come back to base with updates. One MGG fan posted on Reddit sounding excited. "I made a new account and she already blocked me." The biggest similarity between alt-right practices and general fandom is what I call rage justification. In order to skirt responsibility for their actions, harassers will obfuscate their abuse as a moral endeavor. They'll claim that they're only trying to hold someone accountable or warn others about their wrongdoing. Gamergate excelled at this. They argued that their intentions weren't to be misogynistic or violent. They didn't mean to dox all those addresses and make women flee their home under threat of murder and assault. They were just concerned about corruption in the gaming community, and they wanted Zoe Quinn and other women to take accountability. As Laura Bates argues, however, when you analyze the content of Gamergate posts, you find that participants resort to abuse faster than they do justice. If gamers truly cared about corruption, then Nathan Grayson, the man accused of dating Zoe Quinn for favorable reviews, which was debunked, of course, he would have received just as much criticism as Zoe Quinn or Anita Sarkeesian, who was another woman attacked in the campaign. But Nathan only received 700 tweets during the height of Gamergate. Zoe received over 10,000 and Anita received over 35,000. A similar disparity happens in fandom. Men are not held to the same standards of criticism as women are. Matthew Gray Gubler, for instance, has done numerous things that mirror Willow Avalon's behavior. He kissed a 16-year-old when he was in his mid-20s for a photo shoot, and his fans simply say, well, the girl clearly didn't mind it, and 16 is the age of consent. But when Willow Avalon reposted a photo of a teenage fan wearing Willow's biggest gooner on their t-shirt, and she rightfully took it down afterwards, snarkers began calling her a groomer. Willow was wrong to work with someone accused of abuse, and even wronger to defend that person using abuse deflection tactics. Matthew Gray Gubler was also wrong to work with and lend credence to someone accused of abusing women in the industry for years. Snarkers say, well, his thing happened 16 years ago, and he cut ties with him as soon as he found out. How do you know he found out at that point? But also, the man of the hour, Terry Richardson, has been credibly accused of assault since 2001, including a lawsuit in 2005. High-profile accusations made the round again in 2010, with reporters noting at the time that his violent conduct was an open secret in the industry. And yet, in 2012, Matthew said he admired Terry and that his art has a childlike genuineness that's contradictory to how he's perceived. Oh, and here's them together in 2014, 1 month after a new wave of allegations came out about Terry. And what do we make of Matthew Gray Gubler dancing in the crowd to Zach Bryant? Here's one fan's thoughts. Disappointing to see how he's willing to support such a horrible person just because of who he's dating. This makes me dislike Willow even more. I can't make this shit up, people. Like, why can't both people be criticized? Why is only one of them, the woman, called a petulant, pathetic, attention-seeking manipulator, while the man is handled with kitty gloves by some of his fans? Emphasis on some of his fans. I'm not saying get the pitchforks out for Spencer Reid. I'm just saying, at the very least, be honest in your motives. Then we can get to our destination quicker, and I don't have to make an hour-long video about this. A man can survive a fairy tale meltdown relatively unscathed, so long as he successfully maintains the fantasy in other ways. Matthew Gray Gubler isn't on social media much. He is very, very friendly with his fans. His relationships are relatively private. Fans can still project cleanly onto him and nurture their parasocial bond. The same can't be said for Timothee Chalamet, whose cocky rants, public dates with Kylie, and refusal to play his part has led to a mass exodus of even his most dedicated fans. The mask fell off completely, one wrote. I can't even look at him on screen. He disgusts me so much. The conclusion. Man, they not gonna like this one, ain't it? Researching this was rage-inducing. Even long after I closed my laptop, I would sit there with my anger, not knowing where to put it. Over time, it would cool off into pessimism. Laura Bates wrote a chapter on trolling for her book about woman-hating. Trolls are usually men, but anyone can partake in it, regardless of gender, race, or class. I was surprised to find multiple Snark accounts ran by people who had just started families, who wake up every morning to go to work or hang out with friends. I guess it stuck with me because of something Robert Pattinson once said about them, in which I readily believed, that trolls are inconsequential, that they are basement dwellers trying to wreak as much havoc as possible. But that's not true, is it? The same people who were calling FKA Twigs a slave monkey are the same people who you live next to. They're our friends, our family members, our teachers. They're members of society who wake up every morning and go out into the world and be. Their lives are relatively normal, grounded in reality, and then they come home, boot up their computer or open the Reddit app on their phone, and they think they're blowing off steam by participating in the violent fantasy world of parasocial trolling. Troll makes them seem cute and sweet. Sure, not all of them are murderers, and for the most part, they're not wishing death on anyone. But they're not harmless. Most people wave it away because the most visible instances of it are happening to uber wealthy women and C-list celebrities. What I want to get through everyone's head, and what I talked about at length in Just Say You Hate Women, is that this can happen to anyone who stumbles into the 15-minute spotlight of shame. Trolls claim that women are lying about the abuse and harassment they receive, and if they are being punished, then it's for good reason. And if you think something's wrong with that, then you're just an undercover fan defending a bad, nasty woman. The goalpost is constantly shifting. Trolls love to claim freedom of speech. The first rule of Snark is that it's my God-given right to be terrible to people I don't know. What's it to you, fascist? Online harassers seem to confuse freedom of speech with the right to be heard, to have an audience, never to face or debate disagreement, and not to be called a violent, misogynistic, racist bigot. Not around here, partner. I'm gonna challenge you every chance I get.